Wow, is this how all of you felt during season 4? Frustrated and confused while I was having the time of my life? Which one of you Uno reversed me? Yeah, hello my little filmer dudes, my name is Montero and thank you for joining me in my journey to uncover who killed Lester and Nikki. I'm enjoying myself, but I'm also just a little confused and frustrated. Could be a lot of variables, honestly. I don't know. But we are gonna just jump right into this because there's a lot to break down this episode, and we're going to do an episode breakdown this time. Mainly because I do think that my theory is correct, and I think there's some things in this episode alone that kind of further proves my theory. And if we're gonna go with last year's track record, then maybe I'm onto something here. Just listen. Okay, so first, Lester was in that casino during Oliver's wedding. I don't know why I'm saying casino. It's casino. You see, Nikki approached Lester in broad daylight, as we saw in that photo. At this point, Nikki was likely thinking, it's time. It is time for you and me, pal, to vamoose on out of here. Like I said in my last video, Nikki was likely done. He had had enough with the mafia. He wanted out. I mean, Sofia even confirms that Nikki didn't necessarily want to be in the mafia. He wanted to be a writer, a poet, though he was bad at that too. Seems like Nikki is pretty bad at the things that he likes, but hey, he has gumption, he has passion, and that is cute. And even though Nikki already had the approval of his wife, Sofia, he was disillusioned with the approval of probably his parents as well, but also Sofia's parents. He wanted to be a real man in their eyes so that he could be a man for Sofia. He already had Sofia. So Nikki wanted out, and he paid Lester more than usual because, I mean, unless I got this wrong, it seems to me that the doormen get paid after the casino. So the fact that he's giving Lester money like right then and there in broad daylight, to me says that Nikki is convincing Lester to drop everything and come doorman this casino. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Is the money before or after? But in my head, it's after. But because of this, Lester is now obligated to drop everything that he was doing and to go attend this casino game that wedding day / night / evening. The timing of everything is slightly confusing, but Lester had to take only what he had in his hands at that time, and what was in his hands at the time was one tray of shrimp. The missing shrimp. He took that tray with him to that game. That's how the shrimp ended up down there. That's why Lester was missing 4 hours during the wedding and thereafter. And that's how Lester witnesses Nikki getting murdered by George. Not like by George, he's got murdered. No, he was murdered by George. So this just leaves us with the original question still. How did the finger get into the shrimp? I think I have an answer to that too. To understand the answer, I think we need to go over all of the key people and details in this episode, starting with Detective Williams, and we need to understand what her role is. After 4 freaking years, Detective William finally trusts the trio and provides some police firepower, kind of ish. Just a tiny little bit, not too much. But I also think she's here in order to tell us, the viewers, a few things. Basically, what we're dealing with is a loyalty versus consequences situation. Detective Williams says, even if I could ID these guys, I wouldn't, because the last guy who ID'd these guys had to move to Florida, which, as a Floridian, I was screaming, what a punishment. But wait, if a cop is afraid to out someone due to consequences, then the bad guys would therefore be even more afraid to say something because of their bad guy consequences. So what if the people that we thought are bad guys are not actually bad guys, but they're trapped and they can't say anything because of consequences? Remember what I said in my last episode, everyone knows who did it, everyone witnessed who did it, but everyone is afraid to say who did it because of their own personal consequences. Now, Ursula. Ursula represents the outsiders of the inner crew. She's part of that crew, the service crew, but not entirely. And this is because Lester kept things from her and the other service workers in the Arconia. She said Lester was tight-lipped but let a name slip. Her body language during this whole exchange also spoke that she was very much oblivious to the overall mafia dealings, just that there was shady things going down. And to someone who consistently cons Oliver and others into buying gut milk without shame or guilt, she would 100% jump at the chance to make extra money dealing cards for shady people. She doesn't care. For her, the logic is she's just dealing cards. It's not her fault that shady people are the ones losing and making her the money. In a weird way, I get it. I understand Nikki. I understand Ursula. I understand the appeal, the draw. I'm just gonna say. Anyway, Ursula knew about the casino, calling it the worst kept secret of the building, which is hilarious because the trio had no clue and everyone keeps calling them out on it. But her knowing about the casino's existence, but never really being allowed to be near or to know more about what goes on in the casino, tells me that Lester was really very protective of the service workers and that he did not want any of them involved with what he was involved. The less you know, the less you are tied down to the shady. And that's why he was protecting Randal. Now remember, Lester wasn't allowed to retire, so he had no real reason to bring Randal on if he wasn't gonna retire. He was only bringing Randal on for more protection. But he was trying to protect Randal from all of this because he knew Randal wanted to have his dreams be fulfilled because Lester couldn't have his dreams fulfilled at any moment. And Homeboy didn't want that for Randal, and I think that's sweet. So then, is Randal guilty? Because listen, Randal admitted to writing "Die Lester, die" on the table. He claims it's in reference to the robot, but here's the thing. Randal pointed out in episode 3 that the words logic engineered secure tenant robot, i.e. Lester, don't go together. He knows how to spell Lester. Otherwise, why put that scene in there? So to me, I do think that this guy, Randal, wrote this about Lester Coluca. I think that he viewed Lester as someone who was holding him back from more money, from more opportunities. He thought maybe Lester was old, eccentric, selfish guy. So he wrote that on the table so that, he could take his place. However, not realizing that Lester would have actually died. It all looked really, really, really bad. All of this to me speaks Randal is not the killer. Unless, of course, they all did it, but I don't think so. The signs are there. The signs that everybody did it are fully there, but will we entertain them? I think that Randal didn't kill any of them, but I do think that he is recruited for some part of something, and I think he was recruited by someone's, maybe even both sides. Both sides of who? Ooh, I'll tell you in a little bit. But first, let's talk about Miller. I really want to point out that Miller's inclusion in this episode and his introduction both were very odd to me. I don't know why, but it just stands out like a sore thumb. Why? I don't know. It just does. I mean, I do think that Miller is going to play a big hand in the investigation later on, and I think he knows all of everybody's secrets. So could we say that he potentially may have even witnessed Lester getting murdered? I didn't point this out, and I knew I should have, but I always found it weird that what is used to pick up the crank is a trash bag. And who was introduced? The very first thing, literally inside of a trash bag? It's Miller. I don't know, man. Does this mean that Miller has the crank? And if so, why does Miller have the crank? And does this mean that the crank is not the murder weapon in actuality? Because I mean, on a second glance, it looks like the crank might have been bloody before. I was wrong. I said that the crank was clean. But if we think about it, this is a tool that is no longer in production. It is one of a kind. It's very old, and I don't know how well Lester would have taken care of it, would have polished it, and even getting older, I don't know if he would have kept up with it as much as he would have when he was younger. So is that rust or is that blood? Good on them for making it black and white to make us wonder. So maybe Lester was pushed? I don't know. I don't know anymore, but I do think it was George. But why did Miller take the crank? Like, it's a very Miller thing to do, but Miller, come on, man. So let's discuss Tommy the Tongue, of whom I believe I figured out what the tongue means. So Ursula only mentions the name Tommy the Tongue, and every single person on this planet, including myself, misogynistically assumed that Tommy is Tommy, a man. But lo and behold, I searched up what the tongue could be in reference to that is not anything actually referring to the tongue and explicit things. And I found that the tongue could be in reference to singers, maybe opera singers? Is it Tommy the Tongue, or is it Tommy the Tongue? It would make so much sense now, wouldn't it? Seeing that Lorraine was the one who opened the door. Could it be Tommy the Tongue being Tommy, girl Tommy, the singer? Lorraine is Tommy, and Tommy takes care of the service work done at the Arconia. Now, I did search up what is included in service work for hotels and building apartments, and it's a lot. Core service work, though, is included in these three categories: cleaning and sanitation, maintenance and repairs, and grounds and exteriors. All of that sounds like Oliver's wedding, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if Lorraine's family already owned this business beforehand and that they were mafia people too. I don't know if that's the case. It could also be that George gave Lorraine this business to run so that she could also have some money flowing in herself as well. I mean, why not keep it in the family, right? To me, it makes me seem like Lorraine knows, you know? And Lester might know that Lorraine knows. So what if they both know and they're both doing these shady things because they have to, because I mean, they're already part of it. But if that's the case, then this actually changes Lester's death entirely from what I was saying. I was saying that Lorraine was okay with Lester's death, but now what if Lester never actually made it to Lorraine? What if he didn't escape scot-free and he was being actively chased? He had no time to get to Lorraine. I mean, he's an old man. He's running from, say, an older man, sure, but he used medical advancements to stay young. So Lester does the only thing he knows that he can do. He runs to the fountain. He likely pulls the crank out for self-defense, but drops it. No time to pick it up. Goes to the fountain. He's frantic. He pulls the bird whistle out, drops it in the fountain. He's frantic, but he's got to pick it up. He picks it up. He whistles. He does a bird call, right? And he looks up at Lorraine's window to see if Lorraine answered his call. I think Lester was calling Lorraine to be a witness to what was going on. Now, I only know it's a bird whistle because of Nerds at Night. Now, if you're not watching Nerds at Night, what are you doing? I've done a couple collabs with them already, and he's honestly really good at this. And something that Nerds at Night was always saying from the start is that Sofia was likely lying, and I didn't believe him. She really has obviously been lying her ass off this whole time. Frankly, I mean, I thought that she might have been up to something with the cards, but I also thought that's classic murder mystery. You don't have a character be like, oh, by the way, here's this thing. So I didn't think anything of it. It was murder mysterying. But now I do believe that Sofia and Lorraine are not the killers and are actually helping the trio inadvertently by not directly helping the trio. Remember Detective Williams and how she feels trapped and how she can't out or expose dirty cops because of consequences? Enter Lorraine and Sofia. It's odd that Sofia had those cards that Nikki usually kept on him that were the key to the casino that he was in that night. It's weird, right? It doesn't make sense, correct? And then her line delivery about adding that to the list of things that she doesn't know about her husband. Girl, you knew tons. I wonder if getting Charles into the minivan was on purpose so that she could take Charles's phone and lead them to that house. I mean, Lorraine has been doing some shifty things behind the scenes. Again, pointing out the blood on the hat. She knows whose blood that actually is. Giving Randal the ledger. Y'all, I think that they recruited Randal to be like this second inner guy. And that's why Randal was freaking out in the supply closet, because he has to play both sides. He's just a doorman DJ. Now, what of the billionaires in all this? They simply owed a lot of money to the bad people. They didn't want Nikki dead either. They didn't want anybody dead. But with how things escalated so quickly, they happened to have witnessed George killing Nikki. And then they happened to witness Lester being killed by George. So after all of that, they too felt trapped to not say anything. How could they say anything when their boss, the one that owned them, the one that made them, is now threatening their lives? Now, at some point, Lorraine and Sofia got a hold of this finger, probably when doing initial cleanup of the parlor. They put it in the shrimp and they send it to the trio because they know this is the only way they're going to get the trio to investigate any of this. And I bet you George later realized that his finger was missing, and as a precaution, Jay, you're gonna pretend like you have your finger cut off even until further notice. And this brings us to episode 4, where their paths almost converge, and the billionaires figure out the trio are looking for the finger, so they infiltrate the trio looking for that finger. And when they realize that the trio has indeed involved themselves with all of this, they did the one thing that they knew that they could do to protect the trio, which was legally bind them from ever speaking about this for 3 freaking years. We could also say that everybody did it, but I mean, would they really go there? Would they go there? Would they? This episode also proves everything that I've been saying about Howard thus far. In season 4, I theorized that Howard would be the next victim because the trio kept ignoring and rejecting Howard at every single turn. And Howard even calls them out on all of that behavior in this episode. I thought that was wild. I never thought that they would actually do this. And then I thought, why would they do this? I think Howard is being set up for real this time as season 6 victim. Yes, I know that Charles could also be the next victim, but I think it might make more sense that Howard is the final victim and that the show ends with Charles's death, because Charles is so afraid of death that by the end, it would make the most sense narratively that he sacrifices himself heroically. But having the final victim be a victim that devastates not just one of them, but devastates all of them as a whole would make more sense. And who would be that perfect individual? It would be Howard. Well, that is it. A little different from my other usual theory videos. Like I said, it was more of a breakdown, but a little bit of theory thrown in there as well. My theory about George the Doorman still stands, so go watch, I believe, my episode 4 episode, which is technically episode 2 of this. For now, leave a comment down below on what you think is going on, or leave any comments. I kind of want to include y'all's comments in these videos from now on. I think that would be kind of fun. Like this comment from Alyssa Potamus: birdologists are called ornithologists. So thank you for correcting me. I was really hoping that somebody would. My social media links are in the description below, and I will see you next time. You've just been motivated.